So she knew about the address. She pointed a white house and told Peggy that she knew the address. Some old grass was there, it was tucking here and there on the pathway. They were like thin kittens. And the house and its courtyard, it looked shabby, not properly arranged because of grass, and the place was not having good things. But it was clean, like her dress, her blue dress. And they remembered about her blue dress, which was of fade color but still clean, tidy, right? There was no doubt about it. The Petronskis were gone. Nobody was there. Petronskis were not there, and that is sure that they had already gone. There was not sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. Still, there was no answer. There was no sign of life, nobody was there. Peggy knocked the door firmly and she did not get any answer. Then she and Maddie, they went to the backyard and then knocked there, and still there was no answer. Now there was no doubt left that they were not there. They already had gone. How could they ever make amends? Amends mean they did something wrong. Now after doing something wrong, how would they pay for it? गलती की है, उसका भुगतान कैसे करेंगे? They were not sure about that. They turned slowly and made their way back down the hill. Then they turned together and started coming down the hill. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she has gone now. So what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. Now they were coming down, and Peggy was telling Maddie that now they were not there. Now nothing could be done. And she added further that when she was asking her about all her dresses, she was giving the idea indirectly to Vanda about all the dresses, and that girl was getting ideas about the dresses from her. And if she was not there, that girl would have not won the contest by drawing those 100 dresses, because the ideas were hers. How smart Peggy was. Maddie turned his idea carefully over in her hand, for if there were anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. Now when Peggy just gave that idea, Maddie just fed that idea in her mind. Right? Because that idea made her feel that it was not her fault. She had not to blame herself that Vanda was not there. Because indirectly they gave her the ideas by asking her the questions about her dresses. But that night, she could not get to sleep. She thought about Vanda and her faded blue dress. She was not able to sleep that night. She was still thinking, wondering about Vanda, about her dress, about her small house where she used to live. And she thought of the glowing picture those 100 dresses made. She was thinking about that pictures about. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands. Now Maddie, She was sitting in her room. She was not able to sleep. She was thinking about Vanda a lot, and she now sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight and thought this was the hardest thing she had ever done. After a long, long time, she reached an important conclusion. She just pressed her head, and this was very hard for her. This was the hardest thing she had ever done. She wanted to get rid of those thoughts, but she was not able to. After some time, she reached a conclusion. She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. In future, if the same thing happens, any of the students or her friends bully anybody, she would never be quiet. She would never stand there quietly, stand by there and not saying anything. She would come forward. She would take a stand for that person who would be bullied by the other students. Bullies. If she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, if she ever found anybody picking on someone, bullying anybody, and telling anybody any names, calling them different questions and different things and calling them different names, she would speak up. She would be there to stand for them. She had determined now. Even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship, she thought if her friend Peggy would be there, Peggy was there, and she would call the names, she would make fun of the different people, she would never mind. She would ask her to stop. She would ask her to bully. She would never think about losing her friendship. She had no way of making things right with Vanda. But from now on, she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. Now she had no chance to meet that girl again. She would never gonna meet that girl again. She had left. But from that day, she would never make anybody sad again, unhappy again. She would take a stand for her, right? Again, there are some questions. Mark them as homework. First question is, what excuses does Peggy think of her behavior? Why? You could find the answer. Both the pages are there. Try to find the answer. I am going to discuss it at the last class of the week. What are Maddie's thoughts as they go to Boggins Heights? What they were thinking? What she was thinking? Why does Vanda's house remind Maddie of Vanda's blue dress? Shabby but clean. Remember something? Take your time to think. Take your time to give the answer. What does Maddie think hard about? What important decision does she come to? We have just read. Remember, she was thinking hard about Vanda Petronsky, about her 100 dresses. Then she pressed her head very hard, and then she came to a conclusion. What was the conclusion? I know you are guessing the right answer. That she would never let anybody bully anyone. She would be there to stand for them. Alright? This much you have understood? I hope there is no doubt. Everything is clear to you? Fine? Yes. So, let me read this little part also. On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Vanda Petronsky. Now it was Saturday. Maddie spent the whole afternoon with Peggy, and they were writing a letter to Vanda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter about the contest and telling Vanda she had won. They told her how pretty her drawings were, and they asked her if she liked where she was living and if she liked her new teacher. They had meant to say they were sorry, but it ended up with their just writing a friendly letter, the kind they would have written to any good friend, as they signed it with lots of X's for love. They mailed the letter to Boggins Heights, writing, "Please forward" on the envelope. Now it was Saturday. Maddie spent the whole afternoon with her best friend Peggy, and they both were sitting together. They both wrote a letter to Petronsky, Vanda Petronsky, a friendly one, informing her about the contest and her winning, as she was a good friend. And they just informed her about their drawings, that your drawings were very pretty, they were really beautiful, gorgeous. Then further they asked about her living, about her house, about her new teacher, like a friend. They started writing the letter just to ask sorry for their behavior, but they couldn't. And that letter became a friendly one. Right? Like they were writing a letter to their best friend, good friend. Afterwards, they signed it with lots of love, dash dash for love, 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 and they mailed the letter to the Boggins Heights because they didn't know the new address of that girl, so they posted the letter to Boggins Heights, and they wrote further just to forward the letter. Days passed and there was no answer, but the letter did not come back. So maybe Vanda had received it. Perhaps she was so hurt and angry she was not going to answer. You could not blame her. Right? Days passed and they did not get any reply of that letter. There could be any reason. Maybe that girl, Vanda, did not receive the letter. Right? If she received the letter, then only she would reply. Maybe she did not receive the letter. And it could be the reason she was very much hurt because of their behavior. She did not want to talk to her. She did not want to write a letter to her. This was happened. This was there. And you could not blame her. And she was not to be blamed because it was not her fault. It was the fault of these two girls. Fine? Weeks went by and still Vanda did not answer. Time passed. They did not get the answer. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business. She got engrossed in her work. She started forgetting everything. And Maddie put herself to sleep at night making speeches. And Maddie, she was not able to sleep. She was trying to sleep by writing speeches about Vanda, defending her from great crowds of girls who were trying to tease her with. She was still thinking about Vanda. She was not able to forget her. How many dresses have you got? And before Vanda could press her lips together in a tight line, the way she did before answering, Maddie would cry out, "Stop!" Then everybody would feel ashamed the way she used to feel. And then she was writing the speeches about Vanda. If that same thing happened again, how to reply. She was thinking about Vanda and the same questions, and now she was replying instead of Vanda to stop. And everybody would feel ashamed about the behavior they were doing, as she was feeling ashamed for her behavior. Getting it? Now it was Christmas time, and there was snow on the ground. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the classroom. On the last day of school, before the holidays, the teacher showed the class a letter she had received that morning. Now Christmas was there, and snow was there on the ground. Christmas bells were there. A small tree was there in the classroom, and that was the last day of school. Christmas celebrations, then vacations are there. And teacher now showed a letter which she had received that morning. And now she was showing that letter to the class. Why so? We'll come to know in the next class. With this, I would like to wind up. That's all of my side. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you have enjoyed the class. Bye-bye.